Bledsoe was arrested.
Patrick Montgomery was in court.
Jonathan Manapa will stay in federal custody.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So 44-year-old Alabama resident Donnie Wren traveled to D.C. with his cousin and his co-defendant Thomas Smith. They watched Donald Trump's speech and then they headed to the Capitol. And at some point, they got separated. When Wren was seen on video, he was climbing the inauguration scaffolding. He was trying to reach the entry level of the building. Wren was then seen outside the Lower West Terrace tunnel. He undoubtedly witnessed the horrific violence against the police in the tunnel, and his cousin was inside at the time. So the two of them eventually reunited. Sometime later, Wren was seen parading near the police. He was waving a flag. And then he was seen moving toward the front of the police line. He was confronting the officers. By that time, the police had created a solid barrier with their shields. And so they were advancing forward. They were trying to clear the Upper West Terrace. Well, that's when Wren was seen on video. He was leaning forward and pushing against the shields with both of his hands, with all of his body weight. And at Wren's trial, one officer testified that when Wren and his cousin started to push against the shields, he said, quote, "That's when the fighting pretty much kicked off." He described it as a turning point, and he said that's when the mob started to become more violent. And then eventually, Wren retreated, but he remained on the Capitol grounds. He was within the restricted area for quite some time after that. Following the Capitol attack, the FBI interviewed Wren, and he falsely claimed that he was pushed into the officers' shields. But before telling this very obvious lie, Wren kept asking them, "Do you have videos? do you have anything on video?" It's kind of a tell there. Unfortunately, at the time of his interview, they didn't have video. They didn't have anything clearly showing him pushing against the shields. So Wren was arrested on October 6th of 2021, and he was charged with civil disorder, assaulting officers, entering restricted grounds, 2 counts of disorderly conduct, and 2 counts of physical violence. Wren refused a plea deal, as you probably already guessed, and he opted for a jury trial. And on the second day of his trial, the government came into possession of videos from a very different angle of Wren's assault on the police. These new videos clearly showed that he was not pushed into the police and their shields. So at that point, Wren changed his testimony. He conceded that, yeah, it did look like I was leaning into that. It didn't really look like I was pushed. However, he maintained that he felt like he was shoved. So in May of 2023, Wren was found guilty of civil disorder, assaulting officers, and entering restricted grounds. Following the trial, Wren established a Give, Send, Go fundraising page, and he continued to lie about his actions. After he's found guilty, he wrote in part, quote, "I have been wrongfully charged with 2 felony charges and 1 misdemeanor. I never went inside the Capitol, nor did I physically touch in any manner an officer or anything to that nature. During my trial, it was proven that the FBI agent lied to get my arrest warrant." Wren went on to say that he's a, quote, "Christian, a peaceful person, and a patriot." And then Wren claimed, quote, "I ended up in a pushing match with the police because I was trying to help protect fellow patriots from being trampled and beaten on." And then Wren also lied when he wrote, quote, "I have no criminal record before this." Yeah. In 2010, Wren was arrested for trespassing. Then he failed to appear in court for that crime. So a warrant was finally executed for his arrest in 2013, and he took a plea deal for criminal trespass. In 2012, Wren pleaded guilty for driving under the influence, and he spent 48 days in jail. He also had his driving privileges suspended for a year. But later that same year, after he's convicted, after he was sentenced, after he went to prison and everything, He was driving again with a revoked license. He was caught speeding, and they caught him driving with this revoked license. So even after a jury finds him guilty, he continues to play the victim, make false statements about his behavior on January 6th and prior. So in regard to his January 6th conviction, Wren faced up to 8 years in prison, 3 years of probation, and $250,000 in fines. However, the government requested a sentence of 51 months in prison, a $35,000 fine, and $2,000 in restitution. U.S. District Judge Reggie Walton presided over Wren's case. I couldn't locate any details, unfortunately, about what may have been said at the sentencing hearing. But in the end, Wren was sentenced to 1 year and 1 day in prison and 2 years of probation. To be honest, I was pretty shocked by this low sentence. Judge Walton is typically one of the tougher judges. I assume maybe this was due to the fact that he didn't physically harm an officer, but I think the lies, the lack of remorse, the guilty verdict on 2 felonies, that deserved a lot more time behind bars. What do I know? I've just covered hundreds of these things. Anyway, I will let you all know when and if I hear more. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please like this video, share it with everyone you know, become a subscriber if you have not, become a donor if you possibly can, or leave a tip or a super thanks depending on the platform you're watching on. Thank you so much. Take care. Talk with you soon.